Now, what we have here, guys, is in a given trapezium with sides A and B, as in the diagram, and given that the area of the trapezium is given by this formula, so this is the formula we're just going to concentrate all our effort on. Express B in terms of A, capital A, small a, and H. Now, I spoke yesterday about when you multiply a fraction by a number on the outside. What happens when you multiply by a fraction by a number on the outside? Only multiply the top. The same holds true here, that it's technically a plus b over 2 multiplied by the h. The h only affects the top part, so you're going to get ah plus bh all over 2. We've talked a lot about lowest common denominators being the same. 2 top and bottom. Cancel the 2's. We're looking to isolate b on its own, so I'm going to keep this part on its own and bring the AH over to your side. 2A minus AH equals BH. In general, we like it on the left, so therefore we're just going to do a spin. And then finally bring the H underneath, and what happens? 2A minus AH all over H. Alright, everybody alright with that, Luke? It's just you will use it eventually. We'll have a area and volume chapter, and you might be asked to find the b value. So by now how to isolate the b value, you can just put the other letters in to find out the what it is. Yeah. 2 under d. That h there. Okay. Good point. Right. So let me see. Okay, I was asked about, Rory asked me, and you're to keep asking me these type of questions, because these are the questions that cause the problems. Rory's asked me, why isn't there a H here, right? So let me show you an example. 15 over 2 is the same thing as, 15 over 2 is 7.5, right? Now, 15 is the same thing as 3 multiplied by 5. Now, do you see the way the 2, there's only one 2, because it's multiply. So, and see the way there's only one 2 here. So I changed 15 over 2 into 3 multiplied by 5 over 2. Now I can break that up two ways. I can say 3 over 2 like this multiplied by 5, or I can say it's the same thing as 3 multiplied by 5 over 2. Do you see the way the 2 didn't get doubled into two separate fractions? And see the way I didn't put it into two separate fractions here? Because the h is being multiplied, not added. Now, if I was to write down a similar question, something like this, where I say, okay, I don't know, 3, let me see, what would be a good way of doing this one? Yeah. 7 over 2 is the same thing as 4 over 2 plus 3 over 2. See the way I'm adding these two together? And therefore I had to double the fraction, because I was multiplying, I was adding, not multiplying. So long story short, Rory, if this question, if we go back to the very beginning of the question, okay, if that was a plus h, if that was a plus h, what I'd have to do there is I'd have to put a 2 top and bottom, and a 2 top and bottom like that. It's part of the red part to the left, so it's all over 2, technically speaking. Is that right? If you just multiply out the fraction by the number outside, it corrects it straight away. Okay. Number 11. Okay. It's Pythagoras' theorem, guys. The longest side squared equals squared added together. And which side do we want on its own? Or on its own. Square this out. 10 root 3 by 10 root 3. And bring the h squared over to your side. And then 10 root 3 by 10 root 3. 300 minus h squared equals r squared. I don't really think there was too much difficulty with that one, okay? It's not as hard as it looks. Just theorem of Pythagoras. It's a right angle triangle. Okay. Everybody right with that? Moving on. Sorry, question? Anybody? Yes, Luke. Oh, sorry, you're right. Square root both sides, and you get 300 minus h squared. Alright, sorry about that. Now, this one, 14. Write down the formula for the circumference of a circle. Was anybody able to find that? What is the circumference of a circle? Somebody in the class must have been able to find it. Thank you. Circumference is 2 pi r. Remember what happens if you do a lap of a circle all around the outside? It's 2 pi r. A solid cylinder has a height h and radius r. Write down the formula for the volume of a cylinder. Pi r squared h from junior cert. Find it in your tables. Given that the height of the cylinder added to the circumference of its base is equal to 3 meters, express the volume of the cylinder in terms of r and pi. Okay. Given that the height of the cylinder, h, plus, says it's added to the circumference. Circumference is what formula again? 2 pi r equals 3. Express the volume of the cylinder in terms of r and pi. Now, see the volume of a cylinder at the moment. Everybody see it? It's not in terms of r and pi because it also has a h there. Now the squared is okay because the squared belongs to the r, but the h is the problem. I can use this formula underneath it to do what? H equals 3 minus 2 pi r, and then I can insert that in for h in the formula above. Because I know h equals 3 minus 2 pi r. That's a difficult question. I wouldn't blame anybody for not getting that one out first time. Then what happens next, guys? That's it. You don't even have to multiply though. That's the answer. It says express the volume of the cylinder in terms of r and pi. There is only r's and pi's. There's no h's, so that means the answer is allowed. Is that alright? You probably need to go over that one again sometime, yeah? Okay. And finally, number 15. M squared equals 1 over h squared minus 8p. Can anybody in class tell me what's stopping me from doing anything at the moment? So you, apart from the squares, same common denominator. I keep asking you, change the common denominator straight away. If I put a h squared on the bottom, top, this one already has a h squared. Bottom and cancel. And then what letter do I want on its own? H. Where is h located? There's two of them, isn't there? There's one here and there's one here. Let's move them over the same side. H squared m squared minus, or say plus, p h squared equals 1. What's next? What can I take out? Factorize. H squared bracket m squared plus ap equals 1. H squared is being multiplied by m squared plus 8p. What happens when I move the m squared minus 8p over to your side? Division. Now, is h still on it? Is h on its own yet? What's stopping it from being on its own? And best way to get rid of a square? Square root it, the other side. On a much more basic level, lads, on a much more basic level, if you had x squared equals 25, technically what you're doing is x equals root 25. When the square travels over to the other side, it turns into a square root sign, and then x equals 5. So that's what happened here. When this travelled over, it turns the full thing into a square root. Is that alright? Now, what's the next part? Find the value of h when m is 9 and p is minus 7. M equals 9, p equals minus 7. This becomes the square root of whatever m is plus 8 times whatever p is. You go to the calculator, press the square root sign, press the fraction sign, 1 divided by m squared, which is 9 squared plus 8 times minus 7. Just let the calculator do all the work. 1 over 5. Okay? Yeah. I think somebody gave me one other one to do though. Am I right there? Okay. So, okay. That's as much as I can give you at the moment. So, that's it there. Okay. Now, question 12. Express cos A on its own. Cos A is getting multiplied by minus 2bc cos A. Isn't that correct? Therefore, if you're multiplying it, it's basically joined together. It can't be. You can't remove multiplication until you have the whole thing. This whole black box needs to be on its own first, and then we can start dividing across and trying to get rid of it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring the 2bc cos A all of it to the left. We're going to bring this a squared to the right. We're going to get 2bc cos A equals b squared plus c squared minus a squared. We're then going to look at the 2bc. It's been multiplied by the cos A, which means if I bring it over to your side, what's wrong? Huh? Divided. And you're done. Okay. That good? Okay.